Which one should we watch? Let's watch The War That Changed the English Language, shall we? Henry VIII. Okay, well, yeah, it's your call. Let's watch Henry VIII.
This video was
I don't know much about... Sorry about my voice, though. COVID. It's pretty rough.
made possible by Honey. Keep watching to find out how you can save money when you shop online. Also, the reviews are in. That's some nice merch. Get your brand new character pin, limited time
I don't know much about Henry VIII other than the separation of England from the church. And of course, some of the wife, kind of killings.
face mask, and more. Link down below. Blah. Sigmund, I don't have much longer. Tell me, was I a good king? You were okay. Will I be remembered as the great warrior king who invaded France, revolutionized English healthcare, and developed great parklands? Probably not, because of the wife killings. Because of the wife killings,
of course. No.
Sigmund, how did I get here?
It's not
I still
funny
remember
though.
the good old days when I was a boy with a heart full of fire, and Mummy would teach me. Okay, Henry.
I only know he
is a
had
horse.
only
Can you
one
say
son
horse?
and 2 daughters.
Divorce. What? No. Okay, let's try this one. Can you say loaf of bread? Loaf with her head. No, Henry, that's wrong. You know what? Last one. Okay. Can you
Look
say
at that. Look at the details on the background, though. There are what looks like dolls right here at the corner, and they have no heads. Attention to detail, I guess.
Yes, that's it. I'm the supreme head of the church. Screw the Pope! You know what? You're my son and I love you, but you're freaking weird, man. The year is 1491. England has just come out of 3 decades of civil war, in which a bunch
War
of
of the
Henrys,
Roses?
Edwards,
Yeah.
and one Richard had a little ding-dong over which royal house should rule the realm. Finally, a Henry won, Henry VII, and he had a son. What should we name him? My royal lineage is full of Henrys. A fine name, a vigorous name, a tenacious name, a muscular name. How about Arthur? And so Arthur, Prince of Wales and next in line to the throne, was born. 5 years later, Prince Henry was born, but nobody cares about him. He's not the heir, just a spare. The king wanted to make an alliance with Spain, so one day he said to his son Arthur, "Hey, baby, you see that lady baby? That's gonna be your wife." But
Catherine of Aragon? Okay.
Listen, there's something you have to understand. You're my son. But more than that, you're a political bargaining tool. But you love me, right? I love you as a political bargaining tool. Yay. Hey, Pop, who the heck are you? I've written you a poem. Listen here, tiny
Okay,
man.
let's read the poem. I love you, Dad. You are so pleasant. I'm so glad I'm not a peasant. That's a really nice poem. I like that.
Do you see that I'm busy? But I'm your son. I have another son? As Arthur was in another palace, being prepped to become king,
Can I play
Henry
Fortnite
lived with
now?
his mother and 2 sisters at Eltham, where he was being trained for a church career. And not just that, Henry learnt languages. He played sports.
Very
He
interesting.
learnt the recorder. What a nerd. Am I right? Wrong. Henry was the coolest kid around.
Oh, wow.
So I told my Latin teacher he could kissius my buddius. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. Great scholars and theologians from across Europe came to meet and teach the young Prince Henry, who by all accounts was a very enlightened, bright, and charming young boy. Everybody loved Henry.
Considering the context, I say it's very interesting that he was being prepared for a career at the church. You know what I'm saying? That's a good start, though, yeah. I'm not the greatest fan of Henry. His dissolution of the church vanished many beautiful churches and also many old royal tombs. He was dishonored and their bones were misplaced and forgotten. True, probably not a very nice thing to do. Martin Luther, if he made a song, I got 95 problems, but a pope ain't one. Also, many people across the realm were executed.
And out of everything Henry was taught, more than anything, he came to adore and respect theology and Catholicism.
Very interesting,
Henry's
considering
tutors
the
was
context.
English poet laureate John Skelton, who wrote a textbook for Henry that we still have today. In it, he wrote a number of important lessons for the young prince, such as, do not be mean, loathe gluttony, and do not violate widows. Important lessons for any 9-year-old boy.
Huh.
Around this time, Henry's older
I
brother,
wonder if
Arthur,
that's gonna
now 15 years old,
come
was married
back.
to Catherine of Aragon, sealing the union between England and Spain. And then
Spain?
he died. Oh, my alliance with Spain. My poor, poor alliance with Spain. And your son, sire? Oh, yes, of course, my son. But mostly my alliance with Spain. Hey, Pop, who the heck are you?
Look at the duck, and it says Drake.
Oh, yeah! And just like that, an unprepared Prince Henry was now the new heir to the throne. And how about that alliance with Spain? Well, the solution was simple.
Oh no. He's gonna want his son to marry Catherine of Aragon again? No way, man. We're about to see heads roll on Pope's cold.
Hey, boy, see that full-grown woman over there? That's gonna be your wife.
Oh no. Man.
What, my brother's widow? Yes. You're a freaking weirdo, man. Now, in the Bible, there's a verse that says marrying your brother's widow.
I'm so sorry. I really apologize for the the problems, but I think we're good. Perfect. Awesome, man.
Widow, that's a big no-no. So the king needed to convince the Pope and get his special permission. Hey, can I please have my son marry his brother's widow? Sure, why not? And so it was. Henry's life was turned on its head as he was moved to the royal court, next in line to the throne. But tragedy struck when just a few months later, his mother, with whom he was very close, suddenly died in childbirth.
Ooh.
The loss of his mother almost certainly had a...
That's pretty interesting because all monarchs always have a problem like this. And I think, did Hitler lost his mother at a young age? I think so, right? I'm not extremely sure about that, but I think that was the case.
In his older years, King Henry VII went on a bit of a paranoid trip. As was normal for a king at the time, Henry VII had to quell a number of rebellions, and as he aged, he became ever more suspicious of the
full Martin Luther album featuring 95 Problems, God's Plan, and Sinner's
left,
Paradise.
Right, and center. Dukes, bishops, barons, even his own mother. No one was safe from his tyranny. And the nobility of England began to
his own mother.
So when Henry VII finally got sick and died just after Christmas 1508, there was a lot of celebration. Not only because the
everyone was
Henry
happy
VII
about
was gone, but because his replacement was the ever-popular, charming, and handsome 18-year-old King Henry VIII. Henry married Catherine of Aragon in June 1509. You may be wondering, if it's so weird to marry your brother's widow, and since he's now king, couldn't Henry just decide not to?
Yeah.
Well, yes, he could. But by now, Henry wanted to. The thing about Henry...
No way. He wanted to... Bro, okay, red flag, all right? Instant red flag. How could you want to marry your brother's widow? I don't know, man. You know what? Ancient times are just fucking weird. No, Hitler's mom died when he was around 18. Okay, so a little bit older. Hitler's little brother died early in his life, and his father was abusive. Okay, so he had other problems, not his mother.
That was unlike many kings of the time, was he married for love, and he'd grown quite fond of Catherine, very fond. Historians say their marriage was unusually good.
Unusually
and so he
good,
was coronated king, and what a king. Compared to his tyrannical father, he was an absolute joy. Having the blood of two royal houses, he was widely
that's pretty
supported.
happy, man.
He was really ridiculously good looking, and those famous calves could achieve world peace. Hey, Henry, now that you're king, you know what that means. Costume party! Henry
he had some
pranced
really
around the palace
good
playing
cows.
dress up with
Okay.
his friends. He wrote plays. He sang songs. He danced. A true Renaissance man, very different from the gluttonous wife killer we think of today. In his early reign, people from near and far would come to ask...
Gosh, man, I don't know what we're gonna watch, but I want to remember this. A happy king, having a good time, having an unusually good marriage. Pretty interesting. Agree, they have similar customs and same thinking about certain things. Oh yeah, the difference between Protestant and Catholics. Honestly, as an atheist, I understand it, but I in practice, I don't really see it, In practice, they're very similar.
Generous king. Hey man, could I gain ownership of some land near Upton Snodsbury? Sure thing, pal. Hey, could I be an earl or a baron or a viscount or something? Anything you want, man. Could I get, just a really cool pig that has, freaking metal wings and 8 legs and shoots flippin' lasers and it can grow more pigs out of it for extra pigs? Say no more. Hey, guys, I was just checking up on the financial report.
He's spending a lot of cash.
Hell? We can't afford this. Henry's council that he inherited from his father weren't happy with all the money he was just...
Bro, what the hell?
throwing around, and they worked hard to curb the king's spending.
This is my
Since
phone.
they
This is not the
controlled royal
camera,
seals needed
so.
to get stuff done. At first, they were largely able to control the young king, and for Henry, the most infuriating things of all was they wouldn't let him joust with his friends because it was too dangerous, nor would they let him do the thing.
Oh, great. You're an atheist. Something I don't like at all. Oh, well, I don't know what to say about that.
he wanted most, to go on a great,
But I'm very
glorious,
respectful
and
about
expensive
other people's
conquest
faiths and
against
stuff.
England's historic enemy, France. Please, guys, I'll keep it cheap. How? I'm glad you asked. I've got a promo code for
Huh.
the financial burden of war. Yes, Honey is the free browser extension that automatically.
A promo code for a war with France. You
With
know?
France. Henry wanted glory. He wanted to go down in history. If he didn't go to war in France, was he even the King of England? Man, I want to go to war so bad, but the council won't let me. Hey, maybe I can.
Kind
help
of
with
true,
that.
though.
Whoa, it's Cardinal Wolsey, one of my best friends. Despite being an old-ass man, Cardinal Wolsey knew that if he helped King Henry, there'd likely be something in it for him. So what was his great, intricate plan to curb the council's power? You're the king, dum-dum. You can do whatever you want. What? Wolsey began writing bills that simply didn't require the seals, and thus Henry was back on top. For his efforts,
I
Wolsey
mean,
began to climb the ranks.
kinda
and he
true,
became
isn't
something
it?
of a yes man for King Henry, encouraging Henry to frolic and play while Wolsey took care of business.
Oh, it's like
Hey,
the
kid,
Napoleonic
you wanna go on
Wars.
an adventure? Do I ever? The Pope was at war with France and he needed some help. He
Oh.
offered the young, impressionable King Henry 100 Parmesan cheeses, some wine, and a golden rose if he came to the Pope's aid, and Henry was all in. At this point in his life, he still respected the church and loved the Pope. And here was the chance for war he had been waiting for. He still didn't have an heir, a fairly big problem for a monarch at the time. But right now, the only kind of smashing he was interested in was smashing French guys. In the face. And
In
so
the
off
face.
he went.
All right.
The English already held the French city of Calais. From there, Henry made a glorious victory at the Battle of the Spurs. He took the French cities of Terouanne and Tournai. Word of his victories spread. This was it. Here was the glory he had been waiting for. Back home, his beautiful
He
wife
was
also
winning
led armies
against
to
French.
victory in Scotland. And better yet, she was pregnant. Soon, Henry would have an heir. All of Henry's wildest dreams were coming true. Oh, he ran out of money. As the French prepared to invade Italy, all Henry could do was go home. Well, at least now I have an
Yikes.
heir to cheer me up. Bring me my son. Henry, this is Mary. Mary? That's a funny name for a boy. Henry, it's a girl. This was Catherine's 5th pregnancy that had not
Oh,
resulted in a
man.
male heir. Happy Henry wasn't so happy anymore. You still haven't given me a male heir. Well, how do you know it's my problem? Maybe it's your problem, Henry. It couldn't be my problem because I've been boinking half your maid staff and one of them gave me a boy. Sure.
Oh.
Yeah, you know what?
Oh.
Maybe it's my problem.
Yikes.
I'll look into that. Cardinal Wolsey, now Henry's Lord Chancellor, knew his job depended on keeping
Yeah, it is. It is kind of weird to, well, interesting to think how England was Catholic for like 1,000 years.
Henry happy. And so
It's definitely
he said,
very
"Well,
different
if you
to
can't be
when
the
you
great
think about
warrior,
England."
Then how about the great peacemaker? Not as cool, but okay. And so the Field of the Cloth of Gold, a glamorous peace summit between England and France, was held. The King of France, Francis I, was essentially the French version of King Henry, and the whole thing was basically one giant codpiece measuring contest. The two sides did agree to a peace treaty. However, it didn't last
Bruh.
long. You see, there was a third major player in European politics at the time, an exquisite specimen of royal inbreeding, an heir to a huge inheritance, and a chin
Oh, the
hit a
Habsburg.
home run. Holy Roman Emperor Charles V. He was Henry's wife's nephew. Henry had helped him out in the past to put down a Spanish rebellion, and now the two wanted to make an alliance, and so a marriage was arranged. Mary, I'd like to introduce you to your 22-year-old fully grown adult cousin, and now your future husband. Ew, he looks inbred. Mary! We're all inbred. With their new alliance, Charles and Henry agreed to
Ew, he looks inbred. No offense, but King Henry's kind of the Nick Avocado of the Middle Ages. Oh, I guess we'll see. You know, he was kind of fat.
team up and relaunch a campaign against France. In 1522, the English landed and stormed as far south as Agincourt, but Charles didn't commit significant
Sweet
forces.
home
Whoops, sorry,
Austria,
not sure what
Austria.
happened. I'll join in next year. The next year,
Oh, man,
England
that was
swept
funny.
northern
That was
France,
so funny.
almost taking Paris. But once
I
again,
rarely
where
laugh,
was
but
Charles?
gosh.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. I promise. Next year, I'll be there. The next year came, and a fed-up Henry decided he was going to sit this one out. And just as Charles ravaged the French at the Battle of Pavia and captured the French king. Holy crap, dude.
It's just massive,
I totally beat France's butt. That's great. So, can I have the
massive
like
miscommunication. Es raro ver un mexicano reaccionando. Why? You know, there's a lot of well, there's not. I guess that's a good thing, right? Es algo bueno.
What? And also, I don't want to marry your ugly daughter anymore. Ugly? Have you seen your chin? Mummy says it's a strong chin for a strong boy. As Henry's alliance with Charles fell apart, Henry knew his days as a warrior were over. This was a problem for Henry.
Yo,
but it was a bigger problem.
I don't know why
his
inbred
wife.
jokes are so
Catherine of
funny.
Aragon had two jobs. The first was to give Henry a male heir. The second was to maintain an alliance with her relatives in Spain.
And it ain't working.
She had failed. And Henry
he looks like a thing, Nick Avocado.
Home from all his wars, Henry ate up his daily 5,000 calories of meat.
There we go. There's the Nick Avocado part.
One of his wife's ladies in waiting, Anne Boleyn. Beautiful, intelligent, cultured. She was exactly Henry's type. Now, Henry had dozens
That's my
of
type too, boy.
Including Anne's sister. But Anne didn't want to just be Henry's side chick. She wanted to be his queen. Henry sent dozens of letters, thirsty love poems. In one, he proclaimed that he would like to kiss her pretty duckies. Henry's loins were on
is that
fire,
true?
But Anne kept him at just the right distance to drive him crazy and push him to find a way to get rid of his current wife.
So she was
Wolsey,
pretty
I want a
smart.
divorce. And as the representative of the Pope here in England, I expect you to sort it out quickly.
No, wait. No spoilers, but is the divorce gonna be the reason why he cuts the relationship with the church? I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that's not the case, man. It's gonna be so weird.
And quiet.
You know, so
I don't
freaking
want this
weird.
to turn into a Europe-wide scandal. You got it, Your Majesty. Hey, Big Papa! My boy Henry says he wants to divorce his wife. Any chance?
Big Papa.
To Henry's shock and horror, Wolsey deferred the case back to the Pope in Rome. To make matters worse, after all the wars in Europe, the Pope was currently under the thumb of Charles V. Now everybody knew what was going on, and Henry's divorce trial
What a
had become
scandal,
a pawn of
yeah?
European politics.
Holy
For Wolsey,
fuck.
the decision was a disaster. His job was to keep Henry happy.
Yes,
Henry
that's
was
exactly why.
Very unhappy.
Yo! That's fucking insane, bruh. England's history completely changed just for a divorce. What? I'm kind of shocked, man. I'm shocked. I'm kind of shocked, not gonna lie.
Nevertheless,
And he killed
divorce
multiple
trial
of his
began.
wives
Henry's case
just
rested
because
upon
of
the
that.
Bible verse
Oh,
in
man.
Leviticus that claimed marrying your brother's widow would lead to childlessness, and Henry was certainly having a hard time getting a male heir. He argued that the Pope had got it wrong when he allowed Henry to marry his brother's widow, and that now divorce was the only solution.
Oh,
However,
God
the Pope
damn.
and Charles V acquired some interesting letters from an unknown source. He wants to kiss her pretty duckies? Man, this guy's loins are on fire. The Pope now knew the case for divorce may not actually be found in Henry's Bible, but in Henry's pants. After escaping Charles
Lunatic,
V, the
yeah,
Pope did send out
yeah.
one Cardinal Campeggio to oversee the trial. Campeggio was an old man racked with gout. It took him 6 painful months to travel from Rome to England, and when he finally got there, this kept happening. Hey, I need you to take a look at this evidence. I can't. My gout is acting up. Hey, are you ready to take my testimony? I can't. My gout is acting up. Hey, can you please make a decision? I can't. Your gout is acting up. My gout is acting up. Anne Boleyn, with her Protestant views in support of the Reformation, suspected the Pope was just delaying.
The Protestant
For 2 whole
Reformation,
years, the
oh
trial
God.
dragged on and on. And
What I
in
meant
the
by
end, the
pretty
Pope simply
duckies.
said, no divorce for you. Henry, the king that had previously defended the Pope militarily from France and intellectually from the reformist ideas of
Martin Luther,
who had once respected the Pope above all, now found the Pope standing between him.
He
and
went down a
Fordyce.
religious revolution
Majesty,
because the
what will
king
you do?
wanted to marry
I'm the
another
king,
woman.
dum-dum.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want. What? For his failure, Henry removed Wolsey from the court, a decision that was
Pretty
likely
crazy,
influenced by
man.
Anne Boleyn, who
Gosh.
disliked the cardinal. Having fallen from grace and with potential charges of treason over his head, Wolsey died of illness a year later. Then, Henry set about removing England from the influence of the Pope. Hey, if you do that, I'll excommunicate you. Who cares, man? Oh no, apathy. My weakness. Henry gathered theologians and scholars
Who
together
cares,
to help
man?
him make his case against the Pope. Together, they argued to the people of England that the Pope's rule over the church was basically a takeover of what had once been a self-governing, national English church. And if that sounds familiar, some historians do believe this moment may have laid the foundations for English.
Do you get the reference? It's the red Brexit bus, pretty interesting reference, I must say. Similar to Robespierre killed people for dumb reasons. That's true, though. That's a good comparison.
Right. Brexit may have been influenced by Henry's explosive loins. By and large, the people gave Henry their support, and those that didn't were going to be in for a rough time.
There we go. There's a
now,
Robespierre influence right there.
Supreme head of the English Church, and his next divorce trial was a foregone conclusion. Catherine of Aragon was Aragon, and Anne Boleyn was in. All right, I've upended the entire country to be with you, so you'd better give me a son, okay? Now, did you get my letter about the duckies? Having finally married the girl of his dreams, it was party time for Henry, and what a party. Life in the Tudor court was non-stop, huge banquets, with each person eating on average 5,000 calories a day, and no vegetables. Those are for poor people.
That's for peasants, man, yeah.
Ate meat. And so you know what else is for rich people? Constipation. But don't let that stop the party. The toilets are communal, and Henry himself was the center of everything. He ate the best food. He had 1,200 pairs of shoes. He didn't even have to wipe his own bum. Life was great.
Oh God.
Everyone, I give you your majesty, King Henry VIII. But how did they pay for it all? Well, influenced by his fairly Protestant new wife, since Henry had overturned the organization of the church, they paid for it. Oh my goodness, how awful. Selling fake fragments of the cross? Vials of Jesus' blood that you got from a duck? Using religion in this way? This is terrible. I must confiscate all this money at once. Yes, how awful. I must take all of this away immediately. Monasteries across the nation were dissolved and their riches placed in the royal coffers. Obviously, many people weren't too happy about this, but Henry had a plan for that as well. Henry's descent into tyranny had begun, as any who rejected his new claim as supreme head of the English church found their heads on the chopping block. And so Henry partied. He danced, he sang, he ate, he jousted. Be me. Love gluttony. Violate widows.
Oh. This is the moment. This is the moment that young Henry became a fucking... Well, he's not so young anymore, I guess. An asshole, yeah.
In 1536, Henry fell from his horse in a jousting accident. Not for the first time, but certainly the heaviest fall he had taken yet. Some historians believe the brain damage caused by the incident may have violently accelerated Henry's descent into tyranny.
Oh, okay,
Executions in England ramped up. During his reign, it's estimated 57 to 72,000 people were put to death.
Oh,
Rich or poor,
God.
big or small, no one was safe. And the most prominent victim of all was to be Henry's own wife.
What happened?
3 years since their marriage.
They were pretty happy.
Been pregnant 4 times, yet she had only been able to produce one healthy child, a girl. What's more, it's possible she had been going around insulting Henry's manhood. Henry's eyes, once again, began to wander.
No.
His new top man, Thomas Cromwell, didn't want to end up like Cardinal
Cromwell.
Wilson, and so he came up with a plan.
That's an interesting
there
surname.
Was a court musician who had been quite flirtatious in public with the Queen. Well, Thomas Cromwell and his boys got a forced confession out of him, saying that it didn't stop at innocent flirtation, and the charges came rolling in. Listen, Anne, we need to talk. Oh no, you're going to divorce me, aren't you? Just like your last wife. Aw, no, come here. Shh, no, I'm not gonna divorce you. It's much worse than that. Anne was charged with adultery, perversion, incest, and plotting to kill the king himself.
Messed up,
the
man.
jury found her guilty, including her own uncle and ex-fiancé, both fearing the wrath of the king. And on May 19th, 1536, Anne Boleyn was Anne Boleyn. Literally the next day, Henry married one of Anne's ladies-in-waiting, Jane Seymour, his third wife. After Anne had smack-talked his manhood, and since he still had no male heir, Henry went on a campaign
2 daughters,
to ensure
there's
the
the 2
public knew
daughters.
he was as virile as it gets. He had this famous portrait painted of the manliest man I've ever...
I'm assuming he's in no way related to Oliver Cromwell. Is he related to Oliver? Yeah, that was my question. I don't know if he's related to Oliver Cromwell, but it sounds interesting, at least. But yeah, this doesn't help, not very manly.
And
I mean, no
he
hate
would
to
have
the
his
guy.
physician make a declaration about his health. King Henry is a fine specimen of a man, and please don't make me say this.
A fine.
Say it. And every time I look at him, I wish I was a woman. The truth is, after his jousting accident, the king had badly injured his leg and was no longer
He just
very
had
active,
daughters.
Yet he was still
Apparently
eating his daily
so.
5,000 calories. So by now, Henry was extremely unhealthy. For the remainder of his life, he would incur a number of illnesses.
Oh man, there's the, I guess the Nick Avocado
Leg
part,
ulcers
you
would
know,
ooze
the
stinking
current, the
pus.
modern Nick
A
Avocado.
fine specimen of a man indeed. On the church front, Henry's new
Oh,
and
God.
now pregnant wife was a devout Catholic, and she pleaded with the king to reinstate the monasteries. Henry was sick of wives meddling in his business, and he bluntly warned her to remember.
I
what
just hope
happened to
I just
Anne
hope he
Boleyn.
doesn't kill
Since
her.
splitting with
You
the
know?
Pope, Henry had been hard at work determining
I
the
really hope
theology of
that.
his new Church of England. It kept many Catholic traditions, while on the other hand embracing some reformist ideas, such as requiring the use of a new Bible not in Latin, but in English. The cover of
Whoa,
Henry's new
that's
Bible
a pretty
depicted
big
the people
deal.
appearing to worship a giant King Henry. And in the corner, there's some people being put to death, just for good measure. For any who opposed Henry's ideas, whether Catholic or Protestant, for any who rebelled against him, it would be off with their heads. In October 1537, Henry finally got what he had been waiting for. His wife Jane gave birth to a healthy boy. However, the triumph soon turned to tragedy, as Jane Seymour died days later from complications during the birth. Henry mourned Jane, the woman who had given him a son, for 2
Oh
years.
man.
Your Majesty, it's time to choose your next wife. Thomas! Not now!
Come on, Cromwell.
Can't you see I'm in mourning? That one. The woman Thomas Cromwell had lined up for Henry's next
Anne
marriage
of
was the
Cleves?
sister of a powerful German duke. But all Henry cared about was that she was pretty as pie. And Thomas Cromwell promised that indeed she was. However, when she arrived in England, Henry was less than pleased. Your Majesty, let me introduce you to your fourth wife, Anne of Cleves. What's that smell? I think it's your legs, sire. No, it's Anne of Cleves. She's ugly. This is treason. What?
Come
Off
on,
with his
bro.
head.
How fucking dare you talk about ugly? Have you look at your fat infected ass?
Henry found his new wife so repulsive that he never consummated the marriage and divorced her just 6 months later. And for bringing Henry an ugly, stinky woman, along with additional charges of plotting treason.
No. He killed Cromwell for bringing him an ugly. I mean, she doesn't look that ugly. Like, I mean, it's hard to judge someone by a painting, but I don't know. I don't think she deserves to be. Cromwell deserves to be killed for that.
Treason. Thomas Cromwell lost his head. The very same day of Cromwell's execution, Henry married
The
his
very
fifth wife, the famed
very
beauty,
same day.
Catherine Howard. She's believed to have only been 17 at the time. Henry was 49. And
Oh,
like Anne
God.
of Cleves, Catherine Howard
Yikes.
didn't last long. You see, for some reason, she may not have been entirely satisfied with her 49-year-old fine specimen of a man. And it's possible she engaged in a number of extramarital affairs, including one with her cousin, Thomas Culpeper. When Henry found out,
Oh.
he was devastated. How could she do this to me?
Yikes.
But, sire, don't you have hundreds of mistresses? Shut up.
Top 10 British betrayals. At this point, you could look at him the wrong way, and it's off your head. Truly,
Barry, that's
it
not
really
the
sounds
point.
like that.
Your Majesty, you're crying. I'm not crying. It's just that sometimes when I get sad, water comes out of my eyes. For her treason, Catherine Howard met the same fate as Anne Boleyn in 1542.
Off with her head.
So we've had divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded. Look out, here comes survivor.
Another
Henry married the daughter
one.
of a royal official,
Oh, God.
Catherine Parr, in 1543, and she appears to have been a good companion to Henry. She cared for the aging king, who by now was so heavy it took several men to winch him onto his horse. She acted as a mediator within the family and convinced the king to restore his two daughters to the line of succession. Their marriage did have one hiccup, however, when Catherine dared disagree with the king over the subject of theology. It's a miracle
Ooh.
because when the priest says the words of institution, the
Be
bread turns
careful,
into the
be
body of
careful
Christ.
there.
Well, if you put the bread in a box for 3 months, is it a miracle that it turns moldy? Treason! You can't just call everything treason, Henry. The king called for her arrest as serious charges were placed over her head. However, in the end, she told Henry that she had not been disagreeing with him, but simply learning from him. And so when the guards came to arrest her, the king told them to make like an Anne and cleave. Catherine Parr stayed with Henry
What?
right until the end. As he aged into his later years, in increasing pain and ill health, he grew ever more suspicious and moody. The once generous, promising young king was now feared by all around him.
It's pretty sad, though.
Sigmund, I don't have much longer. Hold me. Of course, sire. Do you have any final wishes? How about one last conquest in France? And so in 1544, Henry made for Calais. The pesky French had been supporting the Scottish in their ongoing wars with England, and they also owed Henry some money. So the extremely unhealthy king personally led a siege against the French city of Boulogne. The English dug tunnels into the castle,
wow.
and on the 13th of
I
September,
wasn't
the French
expecting that
surrendered.
at all.
A glorious victory for Henry. In actuality, the whole misadventure nearly bankrupted England, and they ended up giving Boulogne back to the French a few years later.
Oh.
But shh, don't tell Henry. He's having his moment. Finally,
Yeah,
in
not
1547, a 55-year-old Henry, lapsing in and out of consciousness, passed away. His son, Edward, succeeded him, but died just 5 years later. His daughter, Mary, briefly took the reins and steered the country back towards the Pope. But then his second daughter embraced reformist ideas and gradually transformed England into a Protestant country. Henry's desperation to marry Anne Boleyn and
Okay,
his
Elizabeth
resulting
I.
favor had changed the course of English history.
Holy
and
shit, Elizabeth I. That's pretty good. Will you do Invicta though? I think I'm only gonna do one more video. Catherine Howard and Anne Boleyn were cousins. Oh, Jesus. Let's do the War of the English Language. Oh.
And religion forever. Unfortunately, none of Henry's children had heirs, and when Elizabeth I died, Henry's lineage ended, with the House of Stuart replacing the House of Tudor. So then you might think, all that effort, a life filled with so much frustration, yet he never
For
conquered
nothing.
France. He barely had a male heir, and his lineage died out. The egotistical man Henry grew sick and cruel, and then died. So why are we all so fascinated with King Henry VIII? Why not Henry II or IV? Well, without mentioning the many important things his reign did achieve, one of his biggest goals was to go down in history. And you can put a big green check beside that one.
Yeah.
Because everything he did...
Maybe not for the right reasons, but okay, you know. Did you watch Alexander the Great and the Opis Mutiny? That's an epic speech for history. I haven't watched that. Elizabeth ruled for like 44 years. Her rule is seen as one of England's golden ages. Yeah, I've heard that Elizabeth I was pretty important, so that's why I was shocked. Like, wow, that was Elizabeth I. Her daughter, pretty interesting, pretty great connection, I guess. Fun fact about Mary: she married Philip II of Spain, and so they had a child. So if they had children, England would have joined the Iberian Union. Pretty interesting alternative history.
How he asserted his control and authority over
Well, it's not
everyone around
alternative,
him
it
has come to
happened,
be
but
viewed as the epitome
it's interesting to
of the
think.
word king. And also because of the wife killings. Yeah, definitely the wife killings.
That was pretty fun. I really enjoyed this video. I don't know why I never watched it though. Pretty fun.